It's time to bring you yet another amazing episode. And now, welcome your host.
On the show, this is Omobola Stephen, your host on Lawrence by Omobola Stephen. On the podcast, we focus on personal development and self-improvement topics, occasioning expert and professionals who are adepts in the topics of personal development and self-improvement. They provide mind shift insight that will literally transform your life, moving you from where you are to where you need to be. Now, we emphasize the importance of embracing personal development and self-improvement along the course of our lives in order for us to be able to actually benefit all that life has in store for us. And when we have to look inwards, realize that all of the potentials, all of the innate gift sets that we have lies inside of us, and not till we begin to ask the right questions and also do the needful by improving ourselves and personally developing ourselves, we may not be able to live the fulfilling life that we are truly meant to live. Now, the focus and the mission of Library by Omobola Stephen is for us to shine more light on what that we have inside of us and how we can improve ourselves and become a true version of who we are truly meant to be. Today, I have Forbes Riley, a globally renowned entrepreneur, motivational speaker, and visionary leader on the podcast. Welcome to the show with me, Forbes Riley. Thanks for joining me.
I very much appreciate being here. Thank you.
As the Queen of Pitch, and so we'll be having a great time as we explore this important topic, especially talking about communications and sales. And now we revolutionized the heart of communications and sales. How on earth did you make this happen?
How did I start in communication and sales? That's a very, very loaded question. I did not want to do this. I don't really like sales. I find people who sell very offensive. I was an actress and a television host most of my life. And one day I walked into an audition, and on the table, it had a pen, and it said, "Sell me this pen." And I don't know how you grew up, but I did not grow up with a lot of money. I also grew up as a very ugly, awkward little girl. I had a badly broken nose. My face looked a little funny. I had braces on my teeth for 8 years. And for 2 of those years, I had a tongue structure. I couldn't talk at all. And so for 2 years as a little girl, I couldn't communicate. And it always stuck with me the importance of how many people just waste words and don't really get or say what they want. So the pen is on the desk, and I looked at the camera, and I didn't want to do what everyone else would do. They would say, "Oh, it's black and it's got this kind of ink." I said, "You know, it's funny. When I went to college, I was only 15 and a half years old. I was very smart, but very lonely and scared. And my mother would write me longhand notes every morning. I would rush to the mailbox to get them so I could feel comfortable and safe. And I realized a pen like this could reach out and touch somebody's heart." Well, the owner of the station, the network, came out from behind the camera, grabbed my face, and said, "You're going to make me a lot of money." And for 5 years in the early 90s, we began to sell products on television before anyone else was doing that. And Omobola, I cannot explain to you why I know how to do this. I just do. Maybe because my dad was a magician and I, as a little girl, had to do magic tricks. It's very hard to sell magic tricks, to get people to believe in magic. And I did that. And I think that's why I am so good at sales, influence, and persuasion.
You teach the psychology of persuasion, emotional engagement, and storytelling that turns and skeptics into buyers in 60 seconds. Now, we also know you that you're a fearless business powerhouse. Tell me, are there any challenges in this strategy that you provide to your clients? Really, you don't want to tell me that it's always been a H-free all the way?
Well, I'll tell you something. Every entrepreneur, because I now run a very successful online coaching company where I teach people how to pitch. And I'm happy to give you and your audience some inside secrets. Would that be okay?
Sure, you can go ahead.
All right. So one of them is when you've got a wonderful idea or a product or a service, don't tell the other person that they need it. Don't say, "You need to be on my podcast. You need to buy my vitamin. You need my new you don't know. Nobody ever buys what they need. Take that word out of your vocabulary. And rather, get the other person to want what you have. So if you stop thinking that you have a product, but instead you have a solution, they are more likely to take out a credit card because everybody buys all the time. We go to the grocery store, we buy. We go to the Sephora and we buy skincare and makeup. We don't need to be told to do that. But if you want us to buy yours, your real job is to lay out the solution. So if you've got wrinkles on your face and I have a brand new serum, rather than say you need this, I might say, I'm in my 60s and I have no wrinkles here. Want to know how I did it? Try this. And people are like, oh my gosh, I want to try that. I have a fitness product. Amendola, have you ever seen this? This is a fitness product called a spin gym. This little thing is one of the most effective tools ever. I created it. I've sold 2.5 million of these on television. But when I talk about it, I don't talk about it. So my girl, raise your right hand for me. Lift up your arm. Come on, lift up your arm. And I want you to do that. And I want you to feel the back of your arm right here. Come on, take it, feel it. Is it a little wiggly or is it very hard? If it's a little wiggly, I will tell you, you give me 5 minutes, you do this, and I will tell you all of a sudden, your arm gets tight and toned. Is that something that you would want as you go into the summer months and start to wear strapless tops? The answer is yes. I will tell you, I'm in the business of getting yeses. And that's one of the differences. Most people get no's all the time and they get very frustrated and very sad. And they begin to believe that they're not a good person or they don't have a good product. That's not true. They just don't have a good pitch.
All right, now let's talk about how to build a sales pitch that wins. So what do you think are some of the important key elements or key content marketing ideas that we should begin to consider?
Well, again, start with what people want. So give me an example. Give me an example of some entrepreneur that either you know or you've been working with who's got a product. What might it be? Could it be a book or a coaching? You know, people often say to me, Forbes, you are so good. You could sell ice to Eskimos. And you know what I say? Eskimos don't need ice. Why would I sell that to them? Eskimos need blankets and firewood. So part of being a good salesperson is don't sell something nobody wants. People come to me all the time with the craziest fitness ideas. We don't really need a new fitness idea. What is it that we do need? So you want to understand who your customer is, what they are looking for, and why they reach out to you. Also that it's not one size fits all. You cannot sell everything. And one of the things that people do so much is they confuse the listener. They will say, oh, you know what? The big question I ask people all the time to start with is, what do you do? You and I are at a party. And guys, here's the thing. When you come to train with me on any level, I don't talk theory. I talk practical. I am very to the point. Let's get going. So Omobola, you and I are at a party. Very pretty. I say, hi, nice to meet you. You say, my name is Omobola. I say, hi, what do you do? What do you really say to me right then?
I offer constructive mindset conversations on my podcast, which tend to transform the mindset of my audience at the end of the day.
Okay, now you said that to me, and what reaction did you expect me to give you? Congratulations, you have a podcast. It has nothing to do with me. Here's where most people miss the ball. What if I said to you, what can you do for me? What would you say then?
Can you come again?
Well, so we're going to change the way that you hear the question. So you answered it and you said something, but it didn't really excite me as a listener. So if I was playing you and somebody said, what do you do? I said, as someone who comes from Nigeria, I have made my way in the US and become very successful. I now highlight speakers, Forbes, just like you on a podcast. Would you come be my guest? And do you see how that gets a different response from the listener?
Absolutely.
And so this is what I teach people to do, and I have them practice. In fact, I created a very interesting environment called pitch pods, where people come in groups of 3 to practice their pitch. Because as an entrepreneur listening, one of the things that you're missing is that you don't get to practice what you say. And if you're in a very cool opportunity and you blow it, those opportunities don't come back again. So I created a training called Elevator Pitch 2.0. Do you know what it is? So I just explained to you what this is, right? Now, but I don't talk about that. If you and I are at a party and you say to me, Forbes, what do you do? I'm going to say to you, Omobola, I created the greatest fitness product on the planet. Do you want to see it? What do you say?
Oh, sure. Let me have a look.
Right. There you go. All of a sudden, let me have a look. And all of a sudden, you want to see my product. I did not say to you who I am or what I do or why it works. And that is the problem with most people's elevator pitch. Blah, 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 blah. I got you in one sentence to want to see my product. I will tell you, you give me 60 seconds, you will want to buy my product. And I teach people to have other people take action so fast that now you're not struggling. Does that resonate?
Sure, absolutely.
Good.
Good to know. Thanks for sharing that. Now, we emphasize the importance of communications, and not just in sales and marketing, or not just in a generalized. In sales and marketing, communication is very important, and I'm sure you're aware of that. So, in terms of communication challenges that we often face in sales, I'd like us to look at a key aspect, which is the faulty articulation of value proposition. That we experience in this regard. What is the importance of communicating the benefits of a product or service to a customer in order to gain their confidence and desire to purchase?
You know, to me, it all goes back to the exact same thing. To understand who your customers are and to be trained for this. Most entrepreneurs are only trained in what they are selling, not how to sell it. And that is a huge issue. You know, if you've got, if you're selling, my friend is selling this new kind of water. She's a water expert, but she has no idea how to sell it to you because when she talks, it sounds so ridiculous and she uses really big words and it's very confusing. I have a friend who sells new, knives and forks. They know how it's made and how it's there, and it's boring. When I listen to them talk, it's boring because people have not trained in how to communicate. Did you take a communication class in school?
Absolutely. I'm a major in communication, especially I focused on human communication while in my undergraduate years.
And what's the one big takeaway that you got that you could tell me from your communication class?
Especially in terms of looking at the way that we can even communicate with signs and symbols. That's really so amazing to me. And not just by words alone, our actions, our attitudes, even our moods conveys a lot to those we converse with on a daily basis. And so in all of that, the feedback is also very crucial at this moment. So I'm always very conscious of communication and feedback. So what you're giving is what you get back.
I completely agree. That's why I have a new book coming out. I'm very excited. It is not for sale just yet, but if you go to ForbesRiley.com, you will be able to see this, called Pitch Secrets A to Z. Because while you may have taken a communication class in school, most people have not. They have never studied communication. They've never studied human psychology. And yet they hang out a shingle and say, okay, I'm doing sales and marketing now. What is sales and marketing? It is people. It is desires. It is wants. It is influence. It is persuasion. It is things that if you do not practice on a regular basis, when you get up to that moment and you meet the person that you want to impress, you know what happens? Blah, 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 blah. You talk too much. Have you ever heard that? Somebody has a great idea and they just talk so much that you stop listening. And that is, I find, one of the biggest problems is people do not understand how to convey and influence another person to take an action.
All right, Forbes. And now your bestseller, which you just talked about now, that interests me so much, The Pitch Secrets A to Z. Now, you really talked about how you can help individuals shatter limitations and achieve their dreams. Quite right. Now, I'm looking forward to that. Now, I'd like us to pitch this to the limitations that we encounter in pitch sales. Can you share some limitations we encounter in pitch sales and how we can get to that?
Well, again, I actually always go back to the same thing. I just put a link into your chat. I think that the limitation, again, is education. I think that people who are in business, if you have a business, if you have an idea, if you say you're an entrepreneur, I'm going to urge you to study what it means to get someone else to do something. So I just put a link in her chat. It says free gift from Forbes. Oh, you know what? Free gift from Forbes Riley. And I'll tell you what this is. Free gift from, free gift. How do you spell gift? From forbesriley.com. That is my name. And what you will get there as a free gift, I sell this for almost $200, but I'm going to give it to her audience and to you for free. It is a list of prompts that when you begin to understand the architecture of communication. So for example, we play a little game. The game starts out with, hi, my name is. Hi, my name is Forbes Riley. The second one says, I'm known as. Now, why would you say that? Because if I said to you, hi, I'm known as the queen of pitch, all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, now I know what we're talking about. I have another company. I don't say I do this and I do this because you will get confused. Most people, when I speak to them, here's how it goes. They say, oh, I'm an entrepreneur, a speaker, and an author. And I say, congratulations for you. I have no idea what you do. What do you mean? Well, you're a speaker about fitness. You're an entrepreneur in that you have a personal training company, and you've authored a new book on how to eat protein. That is a pitch. So the difference is people just, again, I just hear people talking. And I'm so sad that until now, if you look up pitch in Amazon, there is no teaching on how to do it. It's why I wrote the book.
Good to know. Wish you best of luck in this book, Forbes. Now, in your professional experience, really, what do you think factors that contribute to communication challenges in sales? What do you think that a sales rep they are always in a pressure to secure a sales or close the sales?
Here's the problem. If you're under pressure to close a sale, go do something else with your life. If you're under pressure, that pressure translates to the other person. I walk in to buy a car. I don't care that you have a quota to meet that month. I really don't care. And if you're letting me know that you need to make a sale, I'm going to leave. What you should be doing is working very hard to get me into a car that makes sense financially and physically, to listen to what I want, to ask me questions, and then to understand your problem is not my problem. So if you are dealing with sales pressure, go do something else, because as soon as you acknowledge that there's a pressure, you convey that to the listener and they're not interested. Does that resonate?
Absolutely, but definitely, in such a critical times like these, we often find sales rep, they are really under a pressure. This is a reality here. They're really most of them are put in a tight corner. You are meant to eat this target, you're meant to eat that target. So I think they are just stuck in that rut. And just the only option they have is for them to just find a way of just getting the sales out.
Here's the thing. Whenever I was on a sales team, I scored the best because I never listened to the pressure. If the pressure was irrelevant to me, that is some very small-minded sales manager who puts this on you. Here's the thing. You go to make a sale, you're either going to close it or not, no matter how much pressure there is. So that's not a very valuable. It's very important to have goals, but I do think that if you set goals small enough and you continue to achieve them, you become a winner. If you set goals really big and you always miss them, you become a loser. Let me ask you a question. Who feels better about themselves, the winner or the loser? And they could have the exact same amount of sales. It was just a different amount of pressure on them. So I don't think the same way. I think that there's a thing about doing your best, being educated, being organized, and enrolling. You know, I teach pitch day in and day out, because pitching is about three things. I call them the 3 E's. You want to excite people. You don't want to be boring. You want to engage people. You want to listen to them, not the idea of them. And then when you ask for the enrollment, you should have already gotten a yes. So my advice to anyone who is struggling with their sales, get educated. Learn and understand the art of the pitch. You would never get into an expensive Mercedes-Benz without taking that very annoying driving test, right? You got to learn to drive. And then if you've only learned to drive on a Toyota and you get into a Porsche, you better relearn how to drive a sports car. Don't imagine that you just know how because it's a car. So I'm all about education. I'm all about practice, and I'm all about implementation in an environment. You know, Omobola, I don't know how you grew up, but I didn't have a lot of friends growing up. I was very book smart. I was very into my studies. But as I've gotten older, I've come to understand two very important things. One, the power of women. We are very smart and we are very important. We give life and we are not necessarily physically as strong as men, but we can outsmart them and don't let them put you down. And the second one is the power of community, because on your own you can go fast, but with a crowd of people around you and a mission and a vision, you can go all the distance.
Good to know. Thanks, Forbes, really, for sharing your thoughts with my audience. Now, I'd just like you to talk a bit or give your expertise to the leadership of the sales and the marketing team of an organization. What would you like to tell them in terms of sales and marketing and how to have a great pitch?
I would say stop with all the big, annoying slide presentations that are boring. Stop with all the numbers and understand very organically in your organization why you do what you do, why this company got started, the value of the customer, not the sale. There is such a huge difference. Companies today do not value customers, and it is so stupid. They spend all of this money getting new customers, but very little money keeping them. I talk about Macy's. Macy's was a department store that was very popular. And they had no loyalty program when they started. You would go up to the counter, you'd buy a shirt, you'd put your money down, and you'd go home. Well, some very smart person said, wait. Why don't we find out the customer's birthday and send them a coupon on their birthday so they come back? Why don't we offer them a loyalty program so they can build points to come back? Why don't we offer them whatever so they become a customer? And I will tell you, if you focus on acquiring and maintaining customers, that retention, I don't think most leaders that I've talked to really clearly see this picture. There's always about sell, market. You waste a lot of money on generic marketing. And I will tell you, I have an organization of people that buy everything that I put out because they are loyal. And that is where you win. Companies like Starbucks understand that. There's a few companies that really grew organically, and then many who have just died. Party City died, Kids R Us died, Macy. They died because they stopped focusing on customer loyalty.
Forbes, can you talk to the customer service of an organization in terms of product knowledge? How important is it for them to understand product knowledge? Because
it's interesting because grocery stores are very different than other stores. A grocery store is one of the only places where you need what they have. You go into there and you don't need someone to sell you eggs. But it would be very nice if there was someone to explain the difference between the $3 egg and the $9 organic egg. If you want the company to make more money, that would be very nice. I've also noticed, and I'm mostly afraid of this whole self-checkout thing. There is very little customer service left in a lot of places. I don't want to be checking out my own groceries. I don't work for the store. And with robots and automation, it's getting very frightening how little they care about their customers. But when you go into a place like Apple, those people really know their product, and it feels a very different experience. So again, I think that you need to know your product inside out and backwards. I think your customers relying on you to give informed information. And there's very, very little customer service going on. I will tell you, when you get great customer service, you feel it. And I'm happy to say this. I fly a lot of airlines, and Southwest is an airline that on the phone, they have amazing customer service. GoDaddy, when I buy my URLs, amazing people who make you feel like you matter. And I think that makes a huge difference in the end.
All right, Forbes, do you have any exciting news in the pipeline? Perhaps a project you think the audience is going to benefit from? It's time for you to share if you have any. I'm sure you have.
I definitely do. Number one, the book coming out. If you want more information on what I think is a book that took me 3 years to write, called Pitch Secrets A to Z, that will be coming out. Go to ForbesRiley.com. The other important thing is, if anything that I said interested you, every Sunday since COVID happened 5 years ago, I go live on Zoom. And just like I did with Omobola, I work with you. Not everyone, obviously, because sometimes there's 200, sometimes there's 800 people in a class, to work on your pitch, but you can come and you can hear me live. You can ask questions. Again, I believe in customer service. We have a company with 47,000 students. And I'll tell you something else. Omobola, are you a mother yet?
Sure I am.
How old are your children?
What?
How old are you? You're a mom? You're a mother?
Sure I am.
Do you have children? How many?
4.
Congratulations. Well, I have 2. They are twins. They are 22 years old. And 5 years ago, when COVID hit, something very fascinating happened for me as a woman and a mom. My daughter came to me and she said, Mom, you're not online at all. And I said, I cannot figure out the computer. It makes no sense to me. It's very frustrating. I'm at a certain age. And she's like, yeah, that's nice, Mom, but you should leave a legacy for all the things that you've done in your life. And I'm going to put you online. She was 17. It was COVID and she was still in high school. Well, let me share something with you. She put me online. I had 25 students in a class on a Zoom one night. She said, we should teach my pitching program online, no longer in person. And I charged $1,000 for this program. I then looked at my bank. I did a webinar. I went to my bank account the next morning, and the day before it said 0. That morning it said 25K. And I said to my daughter, what does the K stand for? She said, Mom, you made $25,000 last night. Everybody in the room bought your $1,000 program. I was in shock. She is a computer genius. She does systems and analyzes and puts us online. In 4 weeks of working with my 17-year-old, we made $100,000. And in 9 months, we made $1 million. And you're like, oh my God. To this day, it's now 5 years later. She's 22. She is the CEO of my company. And for everyone listening out there, her twin brother went off to college. She did not. Her twin brother is in debt, almost $200,000 to his college. My daughter has made over $4 million, not going to college. So for anyone who ever wants to have that conversation, is school worth it? It depends on who your child is and what they want out of life. But you can take the money that you invest there and start a business, buy a home. There's so many creative new ways that you can run your world thanks to the computer, thanks to global audiences. You know, I talked to Omobola that she's originally from Nigeria. We have students. I probably have a dozen students in Nigeria, in Uganda, in Kenya, in South Africa, all over the world. And we meet a couple of times a month. And in my own little way, I am helping to bring the world together. People are doing better in their sales, in their pitching, in their marketing. But the most important thing to me is how you communicate with the most important person in the world, and that's you. How do you communicate with your heart when you wake up in the morning? Do you exercise? Do you love on someone? Do they love you? Do you have children and dogs and plants and a community? And so well beyond just selling, that is the mark that Forbes Riley would like to leave on the world.
Thanks once again. Thanks for sharing that with my audience. I wish you best of luck in this project. And thanks for motivating and inspiring my audience with such a story of your daughter. We really appreciate that. Truly inspiring indeed. Can you share a parting word if you have any, and your social media handles once again, your website, so we can connect to learn more about you and what you've been up to lately?
Well, you're very precious, and congratulations on your podcast and creating an audience that relates to what you're doing and for working so hard to bring that out to the world. So thank you for that. You know, it's funny, when you change how you think, even a little bit, it's like a sailboat. When a sailboat is going and it is blown off course a little bit, over time, it ends up in a very different place. If you can see your future, if you can imagine what it can be, I'm a huge believer in the law of attraction and manifestation. I found the love of my life. I don't know if you saw my Instagram, but I recently entered a bikini fitness competition. Over this last year, I lost 33 pounds and 15% body fat. And at 64, I put on a bikini and I won, not one, but 2 medals. I just came home this last weekend. Thank you, thank you. So I don't want to hear from you that it's too late, you're too old, you're not educated. Baloney. You're listening to a very powerful podcast. Take action. please come visit me at forbesriley.com. You can go to all my social media. I have a community of 10,000 men and women who have gone through my training, and they talk all the time on Facebook. Why? Because people have questions and struggles and ideas. And I'm all about, Omobola is very big on the word communication. How you communicate to yourself in your heart. Give yourself grace. You're not perfect. You never will be. And nobody cares. But you are good enough when you believe you are. So I often say that I don't know if you get to come back in life, but I do know that if you do it right the first time, once is enough.
Absolutely. Great to know. Thank you once again, Forbes Riley, globally renowned entrepreneur, motivational speaker, and visionary leader. Now, the world knows her as the Queen of Pitch. Thanks for sharing your valuable time and your contribution to the topic of discussion. Really had a great time as you inspire the audience of Globally-reknowned by Omobola Stephen with your expertise and your professional experience on today's show. I sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, wish you best of luck in all of the projects that you embark upon, Forbes.
And back at you, my girl. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I look one day to giving you a big hug in person.
Thank you once again. Now, if you'd like to catch up with any missed episodes of the podcast, you can do so on any cross-promotion platforms or any podcast distribution platforms you bump into online. And you have a great time listening to the show as expert and professionals share disruptive yet constructive mindshift conversations on topics or subjects that are related to personal development and self-improvement. I need you always to stay safe. I talk to you soon. Thanks for joining me once again. Thank you, Forbes. That was a great show we had.
You are very wonderful. I appreciate that. I would love your audience to come and visit me live on a Sunday. We do offer great training, and it is wonderful. So thank you. I do have to run. Mwah.
If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you subscribe and leave us a review.